So thank you again for joining us. So do you know how sometimes, and I'm sure this has happened to you, the most innocuous, routine things can get you thinking? Things you normally wouldn't notice just grab your attention and your mind is off and running. So I was watching TV the other day and I saw an ad for a financial services company. This happens all the time. I'm sure you've seen them. You've probably seen this one. There was a family obviously enjoying complete financial security. They were at the beach. They were enjoying family fun. They were enjoying all their activities without a care in the world because, obviously, they had complete financial security. The slogan that came up was "Life Well Planned." Life well planned. So I'm sitting in my chair and without a moment's hesitation, without even thinking, I said out loud, "You must be joking." So my cynical reaction, I'm sure, had a lot to do with the fact that my life in the past year has been so unplanned. Medical issues, life issues, stuff. I'm guessing many of you could say the same. You add to that the major element that has created so much unplanning in all our lives. The continuing COVID pandemic, the Delta variant, perhaps new variants. Are we wearing masks? Are we not? Are we inside? Are we not? There is so much disruption, so many questions that continue in all our lives. We don't know when we will be able to get back to even the semblance of normal. We get the impression that not all is proceeding according to plan. What is the old Yiddish quote? Man plans and God laughs. I haven't seen God actually laughing, but I have gotten the impression that the universe has the same disregard for our well-laid plans. So I responded to that ad with a healthy dose of skepticism, you might even say cynicism. Now, I'm not dissing financial planning. This is a side note. I endorse it. I think it's a great idea. However, I don't think that even the most rigorous financial planning is going to give us the ability to rest assured that our lives will unfold as planned. And to be fair, often that is a good thing because life also brings us gifts, totally unplanned. 20, 30, or 40 years ago, I never thought I would be the spiritual director of an interspiritual community, or that I'd get married, or that I'd have kids, or that I would have any of the other numerous blessings which have just dropped on my head. These things just arose out of my life experience as life was happening. However, I wouldn't trade any of it, and I can't imagine my life being otherwise. Think about your own life. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, would you have anticipated that your life is going to be or was going to be as it is now? Likely not. We see these unexpected happenings in our own lives that are good. We call them blessings. We call them good luck. We don't ask, why me? We tend to reserve that for the bad news. The point is that life continues to be unplanned, good and not so good. And our challenge is to thrive in the middle of it. Our theme this month is that it's never too late. Again, it's inspired by that George Eliot quote, it's never too late to be who you were meant to be. That is an inspiring notion, and it tells us that we can change, we can grow, we can become in better alignment with our vision of who we are here to be in the midst of this life. We often hear the analogy of coming to a crossroads in our lives. There's a path this way, there's a path that way, and we pause and we contemplate the path we are going to take. That is such a peaceful and calming image. However, life's often, my life anyway, does not feel like that. It feels more like we're shooting rapids while we're hunkered down in the stern of a boat trying to steer with a little paddle. However, even when life's flow becomes a bit overwhelming, it doesn't eliminate our choice as to how we want to respond to life's events. I have found for myself that it often takes extreme and disturbing events to teach me that lesson. Life is full of beauty and grace if we are only of the attitude to see it. So our speakers so far this month have shared their wisdom on the choices and the opportunities that remain ours at all stages in our lives. They have shown us it's not ever too late to awaken, to change, and grow. And that is such a comforting thought, especially for those of us, and again, I will employ a golf analogy here, who are on the back nine and approaching the clubhouse. It is such a comforting thought that there is always time, there is always a chance to do what we are here to do, to fulfill our purpose, to awaken and unfold and continue to grow. So today I'd like to shift focus a little bit. I'd like to look at the notion that it's never too late from a different perspective. And my reflections are prompted by an experience I had last week. I wrote a Facebook post on it. You may have seen it, but I'd like to talk about it a little more here. So a few years ago, I was lucky enough to be asked to give an interfaith opening benediction at the Fulton County Commission downtown. I think every meeting opens with a benediction, or at least it did then. And they would ask different ministers to come down and give an opening prayer. So I came down one week, and it was way fun. When I was there, I met Reverend Cliff Dawkins, who back then was, and still is, the Fulton County Chaplain Director. Cliff is also pastor of the True Worship Christian Fellowship Church down on Joseph E. Boone Boulevard in Atlanta. I instantly took to Cliff. He is so warm. He has such a loving and a generous and a true heart. So we kept in touch. About a year ago, on behalf of One World, I reached out to Reverend Dawkins and his congregation to see if we could assist with the absolutely fantastic work he is doing in his community, which experiences significant homeless, food insecurity, housing insecurity. You may remember back then that I told the community that Reverend Dawkins needed a van. And it turns out that my sister, Tori, plays tennis and was a tennis buddy with a lady named Marie Krause, who, along with her husband, Vernon Krause, owned a series of auto dealerships, including Angela Krause Ford, which is right here in Roswell on Mansell Road. It's named after the Krause's daughter, Angela, who passed away from cancer in 2015. So Tori tells me, ask Vernon. Maybe he has a used van that he'll be happy to contribute. You should ask him. So I did. I emailed Mr. Krause. I said, you don't know me. My sister plays tennis with Marie. I know Reverend Cliff Dawkins. He is doing this wonderful work, and we were wondering if you were in a position to help by perhaps donating a van. He immediately emailed back, have Reverend Dawkins call me. They met, they spoke, and I heard and reported back to One World that Mr. Krause had very kindly donated a new van and had also bought a refrigerator for the church's kitchen. He and Reverend Dawkins were just down there, and Mr. Krause said, you need a refrigerator? Let's go. He got a car, and together they went to Lowe's, bought a new refrigerator, and had it taken down to the kitchen. So we were thrilled that these wonderful events had come to pass, and Reverend Dawkins and his congregation were in a better place. So that's all I heard until a couple of weeks ago that told me the results. I got an email that told me the results had been even more spectacular. So last Wednesday, Board President Tim Rainey and I drove down to True Worship Christian Fellowship, and we attended the grand opening of Angie's Kitchen, again named in honor of Angela Krause. Angie's Kitchen is sponsored by the Krause family, Angela Krause Ford, and True Worship Christian Fellowship. It's going to provide free meals to the community 7 days a week, supplementing what Reverend Dawkins was already doing, serving 3 days a week. The Krause family and Reverend Dawkins have renovated and repaired the church and the existing community center, which is attached to the back of the church. They have upgraded the kitchen, and they plan to expand the community center and add medical and dental clinics to better serve the surrounding neighborhoods. It is amazing. This is only the beginning. So in his remarks, after detailing what Angie's Kitchen was and was going to become, Mr. Krause also told a story about what he had learned and how his heart had changed. So he is a very successful executive and business owner. In his comments, he admitted that he had never had a day when he didn't know where his next meal was coming from. He's been very lucky. And he was mentioning to Reverend Dawkins, he said, I'd rather teach a man to fish than keep on giving him fish. We've all heard that. And it's not a bad thought. But Reverend Dawkins looked at him, and in his quiet way, he said, Vernon, not everyone can learn how to fish, and we need to take care of them too. Mr. Krause got the message, and his worldview changed. And that corner of the world down on Joseph E. Boone Boulevard is going to change as a result as well. So I was just overcome with the magnitude of all that is being done, all the work, all the heart, all the love and skill that is being brought to bear for this community, all of it beginning with such a small thing as an email. As I was talking to Reverend Dawkins on Wednesday, he looked at me and he smiled and he held up his finger. He said, "One message. One message." My point here is not to pat myself on the back because I did very little, but to marvel at the energy and love and will set in motion by one exceedingly simple act. And so my message today, because I saw it brought to life last week, was that it's never too late to co-create, to begin, to do something that perhaps even without your knowing it, unfolds so as to improve the lives of others. If I had to tattoo a slogan on my forehead this week, it would be, "You never know." The corollary to that is, so go ahead and start. Take that little step and let the ripples widen. Don't be deterred because you can't see the outcome. You can't look down the entire path. Your job is to start, to take that one step. There's a teaching in the Jewish faith tradition that speaks about the purpose for which our souls come down to this plane. The teaching goes, and again I'm going to paraphrase, that our souls may come down for just one thing: to mend a quarrel, to comfort a child, to do even one small act of compassion and kindness. I got to tell you, last Wednesday, my overwhelming thought was that maybe that email was my one thing. I don't know. But what I do know is that our purpose may be large and world-changing for many, or it may be world-changing for just one. Our job is to start. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, taught that we are surrounded by a power for good in the universe greater than I am, greater than you are, a power that we can use in everyday life for everything. The energy of the universe moves and creates through us, through the actions we take, even the small ones. In the Tao, this flow is called effortless action or Wu Wei. When we act in harmony with the universe, and you know this to be true, the natural flow of the universe joins us, carries us along. It carries the enterprise along. No work is needed. Once we start, events so often just fall into place. The universe supports our action because we have acted in harmony with its own flow. Imagine being in a boat on a stream. You don't need to work hard to continue downriver. Even though a large, heavy object like a boat is moving at great speed, it does it on its own. It takes minimal effort because it is in the flow. Now, none of this is restricted to solo action, individual action. It can happen, but also when we join with others or begin a process to be completed by others, the same astonishing results can happen. Energies align and designs come to pass. This is a wonderfully comforting thought that we are part of such a creative, dynamic, and joyful dance. The Prophet Muhammad, when he was asked what actions are most excellent, replied, "To gladden the heart of a human being, to feed the hungry, to help the afflicted, to lighten the sorrow of the sorrowful, and to remove the wrongs of the injured." While we can often extend such help ourselves, we also do it in concert with others. We also can undertake, or at least begin, the actions which are most excellent. So if only we could keep that thought, stepping out with confidence and courage every time opportunities present themselves. However, I believe that sometimes we are deterred from taking any action because problems are so large, they seem so immovable, and because we can't fix them all, we just get discouraged. We are surrounded by so many pressing issues, from COVID to climate change to systemic racism and growing income inequality to political strife and division to more local issues that seem unsolvable as well. So what do we do? I've had friends who have announced their intention is just not to listen to the news anymore. And sometimes I find it hard to blame them. There is such pressure to simply throw up our hands and attend to our own small circles. When we do that, I suggest we are misreading our own role in the unfolding of events. Our role is different. Let me explain what I mean by referring to some wisdom from one of my absolute favorite movies. I've talked about this movie before. Okay, you may know that I am a huge fan of Peter Jackson's trilogy, The Lord of the Rings. These movies, this is going to be a short background, these movies involve the journey of a hobbit who is a small and peaceful being, Frodo Baggins, from his beautiful and peaceful home in the Shire to a monstrous and scary destination far away known as Mordor. Frodo and his companions undertake this perilous journey in order to defeat the powers of evil that threaten to overtake this world. So how do they do this? The agent of evil, a being named Sauron, who shows up in the film as like a big eye, has aligned his powers with a single ring, the One Ring, which he wore at one point but has lost. Sauron only needs to find and recover this One Ring to cement his hold over all the earth, casting all beings perpetually into darkness. As luck would have it, or as bad luck would have it, Frodo has the ring, and his task is to travel to Mordor, getting past Sauron and his thousands of evil and scary henchmen, and destroy the ring by throwing it into the huge and blazing fires of Mount Doom, which is just about as hospitable a place as it sounds. This is not a small order, and certainly not a journey or a task that he had planned. So, as you might imagine, Frodo undergoes all sorts of harrowing adventures, and at one point he's just overcome. He is lamenting his fate. Things are going really badly, the company is in danger, the mission is in danger. Frodo is sitting with the wisest of his companions, the wizard Gandalf, and he expresses his sorrow at how events are turning. Like us in challenging times, Frodo is just lamenting the hand that he was dealt. So J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of The Lord of the Rings, gives us the following exchange. Frodo says, "I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened." And Gandalf replies, "So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us." All we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given to us. That's it. The same is true for us. We do not control, most of the time, the grand outcomes. We just decide what to do with our time right here and right now. Don't you find that to be a comforting thought? Nobody can take that choice away from you. And, as I found out last week so poignantly, sometimes all we do is form an intention and take a small step. Start where you are, doing what you can. Often, so much more than you anticipate will result. We just set that energy in motion. In our morning meditation last Friday, Reverend Chris Kell shared a verse which reminded me of this truth. You've heard it, I'm sure. It's from the Christian scriptures, the Gospels in the book of Matthew, chapter 7. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. Simply start and stand by to see what gifts the universe unfolds. As I was researching this talk, I came across a beautiful image that I'd like to share with you. We often hear these days about our footprint. I'm sure you've heard that word. What is your footprint? And it's usually used in the environmental context. How much carbon we create, how many resources we use, how much garbage we create, are human footprints that deplete and damage our ecosystem and our world. In contrast to the notion of footprints, I learned about the concept of handprints. The concept of handprints was developed by Gregory Norris. He's the director of the Sustainability and Health Initiative for Net Positive Enterprise. The acronym for all that is SHINE at MIT. It's an environmental think tank and nonprofit. He developed this concept of handprints in the context of environmental sustainability, but I think it has much broader application. A handprint, he teaches us, is a positive contribution to our world. What we give, what we contribute, what we leave behind that benefits others, our communities, and the greater world. As he puts it, handprints represent the benefits of your presence. They're the positive changes that you bring into the world. If footprints are what we unavoidably take, handprints are what we intentionally give. What a great notion. Every time we confer a blessing, large or small, our handprints remain. We have been here. We have made a difference. All it requires is to intend, to believe, and to act. As Norris put it, the key is to begin. So for us, our One World handprint is on Angie's Kitchen, and it always will be. Many other handprints are on it as well, and hundreds more will be added. Together, these handprints make up a mosaic of love, support, and belief. So this is the question we get to ask. Where do I want to leave my handprints, my intentional markers of gift and of blessing? The opportunities are absolutely unlimited, and they are there at any point in our lives. I'm sure your handprints are widely spread on your family, on your friends, on work, on community endeavors, in every place that you have conferred a blessing. Think about it. Where are your handprints right now, and where can you add more? It is never too late. Ask, seek, knock, and begin. And together, we can lift up our communities and our world. You never know.